is to work methodically, okay? So a lot of the times in EPICS projects, I see people that just like, they're kind of working haphazardly, stream of consciousness, just doing whatever comes next. So sitting down and coming up with a plan will allow you to work methodically through what you do so that you can learn from your mistakes and that you can build on your skill set. Or working haphazardly can really lead to small learnings, but they don't make sense. Sort of like an impressionist painting, right? You've got a bunch of dots, and until you fill in enough of the dots, it doesn't make a lot of sense, okay? So plan ahead, think those things through. Learn new tools and techniques. Step outside of your comfort zone. So if you always come into the build lab and you grab the jigsaw and you try and cut everything with the jigsaw, you're missing out on a lot of tools that could do the job better because you didn't want to learn something new, right? You just took the easiest way out, right? So learn something new, ask for help, build those mentorship relationships that can help you develop your skill. And then practice, right? So if you're gonna go and make something for your project, try it a few times, try that different cut on the saw or a different way of soldering or whatever it is that you're gonna do before you jump in. And then we talked about a little bit about this already, but learning to see your work as a reflection of yourself. See the output of what you do as being part of who you are, right? And then you'll start to build that pride in your work and you'll care enough to put in that time. So I do want to make one point. So in some of these lectures I tell you, don't waste a bunch of time making something perfect. Let's just make it and learn our lessons, right? Let's make it fail fast and fail early. And then I come back and tell you to work methodically and build things with craftsmanship. Those can be two pulling things, right? So what I mean by that is, in the early phases of your project, when you're first starting out, or when you're trying to do some new path, do it fast. Do quick and dirty low fidelity prototypes. Make it out of cardboard and paper, right? And then once you've developed in that enough that you know for sure this is what I'm gonna do, then aim for quality. I know a lot of you are working on projects that are going into museums. We talk a lot about museum quality displays, right? Be museum quality in the things you do, right? Look at the environment that you're gonna deliver your project in and think, is this thing gonna look like junk in here? Or is it going to look like something I'm going to be proud of? And I'm going to bring people in and show them, I made this, right? I did this. Because you will, right? If you deliver these things in the real world, you will have those opportunities. So we talked a lot about craftsmanship and making stuff, right? But a lot of what we do is design work. So what does craftsmanship have to do with design? You gotta give me an example of what would be craftsmanship in design? Nobody? So what are some of the principles we talked about, right?
So certainly one of the things you have to be looking at is how meticulously you manage your work.
Yeah.
A very physical example, if you're working a CAD model, you're going to be very meticulous in double checking every dimension. There are hundreds of them, certainly one.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a good, so he said being meticulous in what you do. So as an example, in a CAD design, right? Are you gonna check your dimensions? Are you gonna make sure that everything is constrained the right way? Are you gonna build it the right way, okay? So you could say the same thing if you're doing a coding project, right? So you could slap together some string of code that will work, or you could put together some really well-developed, well-thought-out, logical code, well-commented that someone else could pick up and follow, and that you would be proud for someone else to see, right? So I know I've written code that I would be embarrassed for someone else to see. So think about that as you work, right? There's nothing wrong with doing something quick to see if it works, but go through and take pride in what you do and make it right, okay? So you really can look at those same things, utility, skill, creativity in design, right? So even if you're not actually building something or making something, the way that you carry yourself, having pride in what you do, right? A lot of that translates very well. When we talk about software design, there's actually a software craftsmanship manifesto. I did not come up with this, manifesto, that hits on a lot of these same points, okay? So they say not only software that works, but well-documented software, right? Not only responding to change, but steadily adding value in what you do, right? So thinking through, having a long-term plan and vision in what you build. Having not only individuals and interactions, but a community of professionals, right? So when you think about craftsmen, you might think back to, there was this age of guilds where you would go and you would apprentice and become a master in what you do. And we can have that same type of relationship between mentors and mentees within any discipline, okay? So building up that peer and mentor-mentee relationships so that you can build up skill with other people in the field. And then not only customer collaboration, but productive partnerships. And we go back to this all the time in our EPICS projects in software and outside of software to say, we need to meet with and respect and appreciate our customers, right? They're not just someone who we're dumping something on, but they're a valuable part of our team. They're expert users in what we're doing, and they are the people who we're doing this for, right? This is the end goal. So having those productive partnerships is a big deal. So some barriers to craftsmanship. So I've limited some here, but I bet that you guys could think of some more. So hyper focus on grades, right? So we talked about this last week, those of you who are here a little bit, right? If all I'm focused on is having a good grade, then a good excuse is just as good as a working project, right? So if I can convince my advisor I get an A, that's all I care about. It doesn't matter, right? That's that kind of status focus. But if what you really care about is making this project work and doing something that is valuable, and I think that's the kind of thing that you'll be asked to do in your careers when you leave here, right? No one's going to give you a grade or care what your grades were after you get your first job, right? So you need good grades so you can get into grad school and you can get a good job, first job. But after that, no one cares about your grades, okay? So focus on learning and developing skills, developing yourself in what you do, okay? Time restrictions are often self-inflicted, so we all have competing priorities. So if what you're working on is your priority, a lot of those time conflicts will go away. Some of you work really hard on your projects and you still have time conflicts because it just takes so much, and that's okay. So again, that comes in. Sometimes it's managing down your time so you don't put too much focus in it. A fear of failure, right? So a lot of people don't want to step in and do something new and develop that new skill that you need to be successful because you're scared that it won't work, consciously or subconsciously, and so you steer away from ever trying. You can't build skill, you can't work on yourself and kind of see yourself as the craftsman without working on yourself that way. And the object creator division. So can anybody give me a definition of what quality means? Anybody tell me? Yeah.
I guess knowing the word and the definition, something some sort of level you're expecting and consistently having that level.
Okay, so you meet some expectations, right?
Sure.
Anybody else?
Up to or exceeding a certain standard.
Okay, so exceeding a standard. Anyone else have a definition of quality? What that means? So what if I played you two pieces of music? One was Mozart symphony, and one was like me hitting random keys. Can you tell which one has quality? Right? Can you tell without knowing anything about music? Could you tell which one is good quality? Right? What if I gave you two chairs and asked you to sit in them? Can you tell which one is good quality? Right? I think you'd have probably a pretty good idea.
That depends.
It depends, maybe.
Like, for example, in Hollywood, they use breakaway chairs, but they look exactly like real chairs.
Yeah. Right. But we have this sort of intuitive idea of what quality means, right? So most of us, something conjures to mind when you think about what is something that has quality. Okay. So I would posit that craftsmanship is the thing in a person that causes them to create things that have quality, whatever those things might be, okay? So if you develop in yourself this sense of craftsmanship, right, then the things you produce, whatever they may be, will contain quality, all right? So as you work and as you think about the things that you do in your education and your career, aiming to build in yourself craftsmanship will lead you to create things that have quality, okay? And I believe that is something that is worthwhile. So we'll end here with this kind of last thought, but what makes something an exceptional product, right? And I would say those things are having creative insights into your customer, right? Focusing on your customer, and then having some attention to the user experience, right? So applying your creativity toward your user, And then the last one would be building that thing with craftsmanship, right? So you can have the coolest idea and the best thought out concept, but if you don't follow it from concept into reality using that craftsmanship, then that original vision that you had of what it could be won't be what you get from what it is, okay, or what it will be. So craftsmanship is that thing that takes you from, I had this really cool idea that you could picture in your head, to having that really cool thing actually come out of it at the end, okay? So we'll let you go there. Make sure on your sheets, I know you should all know by now, get your name and 1 true on the Scantrons and drop them off up here. And if you could throw your scissors in the bucket, that would be appreciated.
You want me to tax back?